The only obstacle that's in my way at this present point in time is the headaches that I have, because sometimes they're deliberating and I just want to go to bed, total complete darkness, no silence, no talk, no nothing. The other day she was there and she was like looking at me. She's like, well, what are you going to do when you have screaming kids when you have a headache? I said, well, I'll just let you deal with them. I was kind of jokingly saying that, but that is the mind frame when you have those headaches. But that's me, because sometimes I will allow those things to get to me, but there's been oftentimes I have done broadcasts no matter how sick I was. And that's what we got to do sometimes. We got to push beyond ourselves. We got to take off the bands. People say God can loosen the chains. God can do all things. Yes, God can do all things, but sometimes we have to persevere. Sometimes we have to preach when we don't feel like preaching. Sometimes we have to sing when we don't feel like singing. Sometimes we got to move when we don't feel like moving. And I'm not talking about an actual place or actual building. I'm talking about moving for God. I'm talking about taking a step forward when all the church is just sitting there like knots on a log. I'm talking about walking around the church when everybody else is looking at you. Well, I don't feel nothing. How can you feel anything? I'm talking about an awesome testimony that I heard one time. And I've shared this before, but I don't think she's ever heard me say this. But this is awesome testimony. God spoke to this woman and said, and I could have gave you the punchline before, because sometimes I have, but I don't feel like doing that tonight. So I want you to wait for the punchline. God spoke to a woman at church one night. And he said, I want you to do somersaults in the church. She wasn't a cheerleader. I don't think she even knew how to do somersaults. But God gave her the ability to do somersaults in that church service. Everybody around her was looking at a puzzle, like she just lost her mind, that she was ready for the loony bin, that she's ready for the nut house. But she still didn't pay attention to what was going on. She continued to still do those somersaults. She never questioned God. She never said, but God, why do you want me to do somersaults? Now, 9 times out of 10, if God told me to do a somersault, I might question, A, I don't know how to do somersaults. B, yes, I'm a very outgoing, spontaneous person. And yes, I do things on the spur of the moment. But I would never do something that spontaneous. Because, see, I don't want to look crazy. But see, this woman didn't care whether she looked crazy or not. She said God spoke to her about doing somersaults.